Okay, everyone, so before we start the stream today, there's something we actually have that we can go over, which is, as everyone knows, we just had there were a bunch of like changes for the patch yesterday. So we're going to quickly go over the patch and just what the actual changes are. That is not Microsoft Edge. Thank you very, very much, sir. God, sometimes. You know, OBS sometimes is very, very funny and very annoying. So, let's try this again. Okay, there we go. So this is this is a thing that someone else made on Reddit. Can I resize this, please? Apparently, it's not gonna work. God damn it. Hello, Crunky Chicken. Just gonna quickly go over all of the changes from the patch yesterday that they added, just like in the game, because a lot of people may not know what exactly has changed. They may not know all of the changes or how it impacts the game, but there's a lot of cool stuff. So again, this is a chart someone else made. I didn't make this. So to go over, the explosive thrower got a decent range increase, almost doubled the ammo, plus it also reloads faster, which is nice. The Curtis recoil is now lower, and the charge time is halved, meaning you can really get some nice shots off to actually like use this to get stagger and then get the benefit of the fact you staggered them. What? Because before, if the whole point was getting the stagger with these two, but then you didn't really get anything out of it because your weapons are now down. And while the Harris is the same thing, it comes back faster. Charge time is halved and damage is increased. This is pretty big because the Harris overloads in one charge shot. So shotguns across the board, minus the Sweet 16, needed a like little nerf. This just is a bit less damage, like 10%, 15% less damage from when you actually have them staggered. Zimmerman got impact drop, damage drop, accumulative impact drop, and the same direct hit down, which is quite nice. It brings it more in line with everything else in the game. The handguns got what they really needed, which was more ammo, because these were quite fine, but they would run out of ammo quite quickly. Burst handgun, they doubled the ammo because this is a ridiculously, stupidly low amount of ammo for what this thing is. The needle gun got a bit of an ammo increase. Maybe it'll see some extra use. The bazookas across the board have a faster projectile speed. Plus, they also reload faster. They did fix the bazooka bug where several of them could be used in certain ways so that they would fire before the warning, which was a pain in the ass. Otherwise, this speed buff would have been awful. They added an extra thing to grenade launchers that when they reach their effective distance opposed to fizzling, they will now explode in that place. They got more ammo, they fly faster, the reload's lower, which is nice. And again, this is the arm ones. Now, this is a really nice change because this dizzy grenade, along with the Iridium, are now dropped to close range grenade launchers, meaning that as long as you're using it of like medium close range, even if you don't hit, you can chunk this next to them and still catch them, which for heavier builds or for the wheelchair tank, this is actually very nice if you can manage distance properly, because it'll be a lot harder to dodge this with that close-up impact. Honestly, Punish Bags, I do understand the wanting handguns to be held, but a lot of people who use handguns for games don't want a machine gun handgun. They honestly like the semi-auto feel for handguns, like it's a goddamn revolver. So I understand your point, but that's kind of the feel that they were going for with this, unfortunately. And then just overall, the Nebula, though, didn't get the nerf that it needed. So I honestly think that they missed the mark on the Nebula, which is that they were seeing this was very overused and was strong, but the reason it's strong wasn't the stats. When you're using, also, this is mostly a PvP focused update, which is the issue that like a certain people are feeling that the PvE is now harder, whatever. But this update completely missed the mark. The problem is because of how the netcode works, Nebula Charge Shot for most people is entirely invisible and you can't see it. So you're just taking damage for no reason. It's perfectly fine and balanced for PvE, but opposed to fixing the issue, they just made it so that you can't abuse the fact that it's not seeable by almost doubling the charge time so you can't spam it. But that's the issue is you can't see it. They didn't fix that or mention that in any of those notes. And then just the aperitif needed this. It fired very fast, the guidance was fast, the start spread made it pretty hard to dodge. As for the next set of stuff, we have back unit plus expansions. The earshot grenade, again, has the explode round. These, honestly, the exploding thing, the range is far enough, it's not that great. But this got better reload. The Songbird got a nerf for across the board for impact and damage. The reason being that it was a very easy to fit, very strong, just smack in the face to benefit when you got someone staggered, and it outperformed for the job that it was really meant for with its weight. Also, there is a giant stagger and just overhaul for the stability as well, which I will go over after, which is also why they made a bunch of changes, and a lot of it's towards stagger. The stun needle, besides having a massive impact drop and direct hit adjustment drop, if you quickly double hit someone with them now, they did apparently massively reduce the damage, so you can't just smack someone for 7,000 to the face. But I don't believe they quantified what it is. I do have the... Okay, so I am currently learning how to mod the game. I've already got reading the files going. So I'm going to see if I can find something on that, and then I'll put in a comment or add it into the description afterwards. The laser cannon got a giant ammo increase, which is great because for the weight and size and everything that it cost, it really wasn't worth the ammo in a lot of cases. And now when you're doing missions with it, you can freely use it without going, I'm gonna have to save this for like a boss, especially if you don't know when the bosses are playing through. Same thing for the diffusion laser, because I believe this is one of them that the charge shots cost extra ammo. Same for this. Charging it costs more ammo. So really, if you were doing charges, you didn't even get 16 shots with these. It just, they did need more ammo for the weight and everything that they cost. The pulse shield launcher got a much needed buff. The pulse shield is buffed up, the weights drop, the EN loads cut down by a lot, the rounds are up. The funny thing for the pulse shield is that hitting them with the... Besides running into the shield dealing damage and stagger, if you hit them with it closer up before it deploys, it still goes off. So this way, having so much more ammo, you can use it offensively a bit also while using defensively. Helps with missile boats and a lot of stuff. Now, I don't know if this is the fix this thing needed. The main issue for the light wave cannon wasn't the EN load, which was kind of high, or that the energy firearm spec didn't affect it. It's that the guidance and tracking is dog shit and you don't hit stuff. As for the dual missiles overall, they got an attack buff because they were a bit too low. Impact was lower, accumulative impact. I'm curious how much the guidance and speed are going to help, because especially for PvE, you weren't hitting dick with this at all. So this hopefully fixed it where it needed to be. The active homing, honestly, I'm not sure why this buff is here, because I love these things and felt they were great how they were. The fact that they have a guidance, homing lock time is dropped by a lot, and projectile speed up. I'm curious how it's going to work. I know why this had this change, because you couldn't see them when they curved. This is a very, very high velocity weapon, and on your screen, besides the lock, they would curve a bit, making them very punishing for people with the impact that they dealt. The guidance change isn't too much, but I know why they did it. But the problem is, for the curving to following stable trajectory, is that it was too easy to use them to hit people, and even if someone dodged properly based on distance because it curved, you'd still fuck up dodging them, and it was just too good for like what it did. Now, the Coral Missile, this is the second nerf. Now it's a 20% damage decrease, a like 25% impact down on charge. Also, this is for the charge, not the non-charge. Also notice that the accumulative impact and regular impact are the same number. This didn't even decrease after hitting someone. So you could sit back and like just pelt out a few of these, especially with the charge having the tiny lasers hit them. And that impact would stay. That stagger wouldn't drop after a second. And it's such a high number that if they did anything that didn't get them staggered, you had all the time that you needed to really get there and then finish the stagger off. So I'm really happy that they did this. Now so the laser orbit, the projectile speed is nice, because the main issue with these is that the range needed for it was too close and you really weren't hitting stuff because it was too slow. Basically moving was making the laser orbit miss. So I'm also very curious about these laser turrets being updated, and I will be using these for this run tonight, because this may actually be a very nice weapon now. Obviously, the pulse protection got a nice resilience buff. It still drops over time, so it's fine. Terminal armor going from 2 seconds to 5 seconds is also fine, because the actual shell size didn't change, and it sometimes still wasn't enough to actually help the person. Because people, as soon as someone pops terminal armor, the person assault boosts the other way anyway. So 2 seconds really wasn't enough to capitalize on it. As for the head and core update, this is mostly just bringing certain parts into line with the other parts. Also, Haru, hello. Hope you're having a great day so far. So most heads just got increased to the system recovery, which is for when you have a status ailment from the burn, from the flamethrower, or the shock from the stun gun taser hands, which are very meta weapons currently. This now just overall helps you get it back faster, is added to a bunch of heads. A lot of them with a lot of parts got an overall stability increase also. They did notice, especially for the lightweights, that stability needed to go up, because it is such a major part of this game, and it was just too much focus on stability over other aspects. So that's really what these major changes are here. Yeah, that's really that part there. So I thought the Veril head had a nerf, but no, it was the VP44D had a stability drop, which is fine. As for the core update for this first part, as I said, a lot of lightweight parts got a stability increase, and then they also increased the output for the Notch Trayer core, just because it was hard to fit stuff with how little energy you had, because you typically put it on a very lightweight AC, couldn't fit a really heavy generator, and then also had a low output penalty, making it very hard to fit stuff on it. So you can now fit the lighter weight laser weapons, like the laser handguns, a nice laser blade, the laser turret that they updated, the lightweight cannon, which you're still not going to use, probably. But overall, that was a nice change there. Now, so a lot of people that I've seen, exactly hard. That core is very hard to use, so that's going to give you like 10% plus more energy to work with. So the FMAC core, a lot of people have asked me why this core got such a big impact for the penalty. Like, Basho is obvious. It is an amazing melee arm, So they nerfed it because to make it a bit less tanky because you just did a lot of damage using melee, and the jailbreak got a nerf because fuck you, I don't know why. It already sucks. I don't know why it got more nerfs, but no one uses it, so who cares? So as for the ephemera core, just to show the stats, because I'm going to pull it up here also. So if you look at how much energy, not how much energy, how much like AP it had prior, 31,000 put it fairly above halfway for those stats. The defenses overall got like a 100+ point drop, which if you look again, the ephemera core, for everything that it had, it was basically a midweight AP, midweight defense, but one of the lighter cores, and the generator output plus the booster overall on it was very, very strong. So you could basically take this lightweight core with very defensive stats and get a massive generator cap out of it without penalizing your speed, and just even the actual generator supply is very, very good. So for checking just the actual support stats, it's basically at the top above a lot of them. So if you were trying to fit like energy weapons using an energy drain build, or just wanted to fit a bunch of coral shit, there was this amazingly good core that as we saw is very lightweight. Okay, so it is a lightweight core with medium defenses and AP, no real missing parts of it, that had very little drawback. So taking like the several hundred points of defense off with the AP, put it back into the lightweight category it really should have been, that all of the other lightweights had something which was keeping it down from being too good. Besides the thing with the Nostra core, which they increased the output because that was just too low. It was just too good of a core for the role. Because again, it could save you tons of weight because you could use a generator half the weight of those coral gens and still fit shit. Exactly. It was super overstated for its weight without having a drawback to really compensate for the spot it was in. So it's not that it was overly strong, but for the spot it was at, it didn't have any drawbacks where it was just too good. Unlike the Zims, which are overstated, this was just too good for its role, so it stopped you from using a lot of other cores, and this is one of those nerfs that opens up the range of what you can use. As for the other ARM stuff, they basically overall increase the recoil control by 10 to 20% on a lot of parts. The VP46D, which is a fairly lightweight, got almost a 50% recoil control increase because the lightweight arms, as you can see for the overall buff, is if you're using a lightweight AC, you're going to be using close range lightweight stuff like machine guns, the rifles, the linear rifles, which are going to not only spam charge, you will shoot it normally a bit, and having such low recoil was completely defeating the purpose that they existed for because it just wouldn't work. So they overall bumped them up a bit to bring them back into line to really needing what they were, because heavyweights were way too good without enough penalties over lightweights, which we will go over several parts after this. As for legs, as I said prior, there is overall a very big push to increase the size of the stability bar, and they brought the impact of a lot of the large impact offenders down to bring in more actual gameplay over focusing for stagger. Also, yes, pistols. That is a great example. So overall, a lot of legs got a stability increase between 5 and 10%. Some of them go up to 20. I guess not necessarily 20, but close enough. Then you will notice that they also gave a jump distance increase. The point of this is to make quick boosting on the ground more effective also, to help just get that little bit of extra dodge, because what they just did to the actual grenades for the if you're close but I miss it still explodes, this is to help balance that a bit, to help get you out of there. Because if they didn't, jump distance would immediately become a lot stronger than it really needed to be, so they brought a bunch of them up. Now, you will notice a lot of the heavyweight legs got an AP buff, and a fairly massive AP buff. Like, the freaking Dessert got a 1000 AP. Now, you may ask why they did this. Something that I'll quickly pull up now that they did is that they've made the assault boost speed drop more for heavier ACs, because prior you could use a full heavyweight AC and assault boost, and they were only, their normal boost speed is only like 10% lower than a lightweight, and just a full heavyweight using assault boost could run a lightweight AC down, because it could assault boost like 30 to 40% faster than they moved, having more energy efficiency, where the only way the lightweight could really get out was vertical lift, but they could focus on an assault booster with higher vertical to also follow them up. And then just with the overall, their stability was so much better. The stability recovery wasn't that much lower, but they've fix that with these first two things, but really they slowed the heavier ACs down so they can't keep up with the lightweights anymore. So just so they didn't entirely take heavyweights entirely out, they gave them a massive buff to their AP to help tank the little bit of extra damage they're going to be taking from those lightweights now. And now the overall change for reverse joints, which is the major change where I said certain ones got a 20% stability increase. So the actual RJ legs for the massive ground dodge bonus had ridiculously low stability, which unfortunately was so low it took them out of real being use, because the notched hair legs were like a biped, but like a half reverse joint, half biped, which you'll also see is not on this list for getting a stability buff, because it is still a higher stability than every reverse joint leg. The jump is only like 10% worse, and it was basically a reverse joint leg with a smaller jump, but better in every single stat. Now, as for the other changes, tetrapod legs are overly strong. So what they did was to bring the AP down, because you could just assault boost kick spam at people. We all know the range was way too big. Their stability was too high. You just assault boost at shit and you can't stop them. So the massive drop for the AP and not getting the other stability buffs that the other legs got is bringing it much more into line. The wheelchair, it's obvious why it got these. It's the fastest ground leg. Had amazing defense. It really needed to be brought down a bit. This will also make it so that having a single grenade, especially with even if you miss, it'll catch them for the explosion, is nice. There is a massive buff overall to the upward thrust, almost minimum of 10% for every single booster. The reason being that, again, assault boost is very, very strong. The only penalty for it is that its vertical is not good. By using the assault boost drift, you aren't outrunning it, and you are not out-turning them when it's used properly. The only way to really dodge them is going up, except most boosters for the upward cost really couldn't sustain that because of how energy efficient assault boosting is. So by having this is just a little bit of extra that they need to help just stop the assault boost close range stagger kick spam. So the close range drop on these, I'm not necessarily sure why the PO5 got it for the FCS. The PO5, I guess, was really great mid-range, so they wanted to bring the close range down a bit. The missile lock is everything, and everything else is good. And 42 is still fairly decent when you compare it to everything else. Uh, the Abbott, again, just another part with a nerf to the close range, which close range especially is very strong. For again, they're trying to increase the combat range a bit. So they're trying to really make sure that if you're going close range, you're going close range. But this compared to the Talbot, I'm not sure why you'd use the Abbott over the Talbot at this point, considering all the other stats. Besides maybe the energy load and the weight, but I'm not really sure why that one was also caught up in that, but they did want the overall close range down. And Talbot also did get a close ranged increase, but it's still nice. As for the generators here, what they were doing with this is that they wanted to open up a few generator options for the lighter weight situations, while also making energy weapons a more viable weapon. Because like just here, this is 2 more generators you can use to get the energy firearm up. The energy capacity is again to help flying to keep out of the assault boost range. And if we check the actual generators quickly, let's go sort it by weight. The Joso, which is the starting generator, I can see why the starting it's not the starting generator. I don't know why I said that. I did not sort it by this. I sorted it by weight. Right. So this is the lightest weight generator. They gave it a they gave it a like bit of an extra energy cap. They made the energy weapons at least usable on it. This is just overall a little bit of a buff on there. So the Yaba, which again it's halfway through, gave it a bit more energy on it. This'll now regen a bit faster. The firearms are now brought up on it, making it fairly useful to actually have them. Again, just they're trying to open options up so it's not just all coral generator assault boosting at people. And for the Koshu's a fairly heavier one. They increased the energy cap, brought energy firearm up so that while it's a bit heavier, you still have another option that can use energy while being a viable generator. And now for the not stat-based parts, as I said before, just overall, they have now made lightweights actually have a place where you can quickly go in and joust and then back off and actually stay off with time to get the to basically get the stability bar down, as it took quite a while for it to stop going down. Heavier ACs, it is now lasting a bit longer, which is also why they gave the heavy legs the AP increase to help offset that the lightweights can now actually kite a bit. They have adjusted boost speed so that the lighter weight ACs are now faster, the heavier ones are a bit slower. Again, the reason being a heavyweight with 60% plus more AP, taking less than half the damage with a larger stagger bar, shouldn't only be like 10% slower. It just wasn't a big enough gap. Same thing. Assault boost didn't take weight enough into the category for what the speed did. Heavyweights were too fast. They decreased the boost kick attack range for tetrapod legs. It was too big and the hitbox online sucked. They increased the energy consumption hovering for tetrapod legs. I think this is just more of to try to keep the energy and just the rush down on them lower. Not really sure why, or maybe this is to stop missile boats. I really didn't see the hover platform used too much. They decreased the impact reduction effect of assault boost, because again, that was the same thing of you could rush at people and spamming the assault boost reduced your incoming impact, just focusing too much on stagger. The assault boost, a lot of people may not know, if you don't kick and just ram them, has an impact. They lowered that. They also lowered the impact of boost kicks from every leg besides RJ. The chicken legs have enough of a penalty and plus their kick is kind of harder to hit because it's a farther range. It's a very long commitment and doesn't track as well. I feel so that's perfectly fine. They don't want the kick spamming. And then then the one pulse shield, for some reason, certain things dealt too much damage to it. Not sure why. And then they just fixed a bunch of other general bug shit, like bug fixes, like quads with the oscillator. You couldn't dodge it. The javelin, for some reason, back left would not display the warning marker. Certain grenades, yes, this grenade launcher, you probably noticed it for the dam mission, would give you the note after it hit you. Lightwave blade and coral blade could clip through walls. That was kind of annoying. So people in PvP were going against walls and throwing it through it. I guess because the tip was going all the way through, so it was spawning behind it. And I guess trying to reload a full mag would make certain weapons fire. But overall, that is mostly what the change is. Also, in case anyone's asking what this is, I made a builder for myself for making builds that I can sort for. Putting the stuff up here gives me a whole cumulative total thing that I've been using to figure out the builds. If there's, for some reason, anyone wants this, tell me. I'll figure out some way where you can basically download a file to upload into your own personal Google Drive so that you can use it. Because I don't know how to make an online page so it's not like, so it's an individual thing. If I try to give it out as it is, everyone's using the same one and it won't work. Yeah, so if like people want it, I'll find a file I can put into a Google Drive so you can download it and shove it into your own Google Drive. Anywho, that's enough for this video. It's going on for apparently half an hour. Holy crap. Yeah, so we can just jump into the AC6 run now. Yep, so if anyone has any questions or something that I missed, please tell me and I'll try to fix it, or I'll put a comment or something else on it. Thank you very much.